Alright, Shalom. First and foremost, I want to start this lesson off by giving all the praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Rakakudash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Honors to our brothers who are fervently preaching the word in sincerity and in faith. Shalom to the sincere Akwath, and Shalom to the scattered Israelites who are amongst these heathen nations and look like these heathens. Now this lesson is going to be based on the continued back and forth between Washington and Tehran as far as these peace negotiations are concerned. So through the spirit, I'm going to read this article, get some precepts, and Lord's will, you're edified. It says, Trump warns Iran better get smart soon as he weighs military options over Strait of Hormuz. Members of Trump's national security team presented him with multiple options this week for how to handle the continuing bottleneck in the key waterway. A U.S. official and a person familiar with the meeting told NBC News. It says President Donald Trump warned Iran better get smart soon Wednesday as he weighed military options for the Strait of Hormuz with peace talks at an impasse. Members of Trump's national security team presented him with multiple options this week for how to handle the continuing bottleneck in the strait after negotiations failed to reopen the critical waterway, a U.S. official and a person familiar with the meeting told NBC News. The standoff between Washington and Tehran, including the continued U.S. naval blockade, means the key trade route has been effectively blocked for 2 months. The threat of prolonged disruption to the global economy has sent energy prices soaring. Gas price averages in the U.S. reached $4.23 a gallon, the highest level in nearly 4 years, while the international benchmark price for oil, Brent crude, surged to $115 a barrel early Wednesday. Meanwhile, Iran's national real currency hit a record low against the dollar, as Tehran's economy also showed growing signs of strain. The options discussed during Monday's meeting in the Situation Room included whether the U.S. military presence in the strait should change, either increase or decrease, and whether the military should become more aggressive in conducting operations there, the U.S. official said. Trump has not made any decisions about the way forward, the sources said, and it's not clear when he might make a decision. But Trump and other top administration officials met with a group of energy industry executives on Tuesday, discussing possible next steps in continuing the blockade of Iran's ports for months if needed, and how to minimize impacts on American consumers, a White House official told NBC News. The meeting was hosted by Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent, included executives from Chevron, Trafi, Vitol, and Mercury, among other companies. The U.S. showed little immediate enthusiasm for a new Iranian proposal that would end the war and reopen the strait without resolving the impasse over the Islamic Republic's nuclear program, a key stumbling block in the stalled peace talks. Trump weighed in Wednesday in a 4 a.m. ET post on Truth Social. Said Iran can't get their act together. They don't know how to sign a non-nuclear deal. They better get smart soon, he wrote. And this is typical of, Esau. He really thinks that he, just has all the answers and that his way is always the right way, which Esau's way is never the right way because Esau is the wicked. The only thing that the wicked knows how to do is wickedness. And the scriptures talk about never trust thine enemy. And Esau is an enemy to everybody on this earth. Accompanying Salakia. Accompanying the text was an apparently AI generated image of Trump holding a gun with the message, "No more Mr. Nice Guy." It was not clear what the president meant by a non-nuclear deal. Washington has publicly insisted on Tehran halting its enrichment program, and Secretary of State Marco Rubio said this week that any agreement must be one that definitively prevents them from sprinting toward a nuclear weapon at any point. U.S. negotiators continue to engage with the Iranians, who are struggling to sort out their leadership situation following Operation EP Fury. White House spokesperson Anna Kelly said in a statement, referring to the U.S.-Israeli military campaign in Iran, "The president will only enter into an agreement that puts U.S. national security first, and he has been clear that Iran can never possess a nuclear weapon." That sentiment even echoed through the White House East Room last night, where Trump was hosting a state dinner for Britain's King Charles III. Toasting the king at the banquet, Trump touched on the Middle East crisis, saying the U.S. has militarily defeated Iran, which once again, that's a lie. All Esau knows how to do is lie, and he lies like it's what's keeping him alive. So then we are never going to let that opponent ever. Charles agrees with me even more than I do. We are never going to let that opponent have a nuclear weapon, he added. Asked about Trump's claim, a Buckingham Palace spokesperson told NBC News the king is naturally mindful of his government's long-standing and well-known position on the prevention of nuclear proliferation. Meanwhile, the U.S. naval blockade continued in an effort to impose economic pain that might force Tehran into concessions. The rial's record low, trading at around 1.8 million to $1, could further fuel inflation in Iran, where prices have risen and widespread job losses have been felt amid the war. Trump is hoping to deprive the regime of a key source of funds by cutting off its ability to export oil. Since U.S. Marines boarded another commercial vessel, the military said late Tuesday, but ultimately allowed it to carry on its way. Tehran has attacked 3 commercial ships and seized 2 of them in the maritime standoff. So there was a sign of progress for one import-dependent U.S. ally at least. The Japanese-owned Idemitsu Maru tanker, which entered the Strait Tuesday, was confirmed by the Japanese government to have successfully transited the waterway Wednesday morning, sailing toward Japan. Yeah, because to be honest, Iran only has beef with the U.S. and Israel. Nobody else has attacked them. And the only reason why this blockade and this standstill that is currently happening between the U.S. and Iran, the only reason why it's happening is because this is what the Lord wants. There was never going to be any peace between these two. It's either going to be them going back and forth over the Strait of Hormuz, or it's going to be them launching attacks on each other, via like missiles and things of that nature. But things are not really going to ever stop. And that's why the Lord is putting the spirit on Trump to just keep doing what he's doing. Because Trump genuinely doesn't even want to find, any common ground. He doesn't want there to be peace. He likes pushing this war issue. But the Lord loves pushing it more. And what Trump's, wicked self doesn't understand is that the Lord is using him to lead America to its own destruction. Proverbs 21:1. The king's heart is in the hand of the Lord Yahweh. As the rivers of water, he turneth it whithersoever he will. And that's right. Trump's heart is in the hand of the Lord, meaning his mind. So everything that Trump says, the Lord is the one who put the spirit on him to say it. There's not going to be any actual peace talks or negotiations. It's not going to happen. And by now, most people have figured that out. That's why I believe even Pakistan, they were like, the middleman for the peace negotiations, and even they stepped away. They were like, well, that failed, because the Lord does not want there to be peace between Iran and the U.S. The Lord wants it to continue to escalate and for all these other nations to get dragged into it, and then for this war to turn into a full-fledged world war and go nuclear. And that's the direction that the Lord has things headed in, whether most people can see that or not. And those Iranians, the Lord has the spirit on them not to back down from the U.S. Luke 12:51. Suppose ye that I'm come to give peace on earth, I tell you nay, but rather division. And that's why neither side is backing down. The U.S. is not backing down, and Iran is not backing down. And as you can see, it's just causing more strain on the global economy. The U.S. is feeling it. Iran is feeling it. The rest of the world is feeling it. And the rest of the world is like, yo, can somebody make a move here? Somebody do something, because everybody is suffering. The global economy is suffering. The U.S. and Israel, for the past, 50 years, they've been saying that Iran was weeks and months away from having a nuclear missile. That's been their go-to lie for why they, once they attacked Iran. And anybody with common sense knows that Iran was never close to having a nuclear missile. And as I've said before, no one is sitting here saying that Iran, that they're the good people, that they've never done anything wrong. Like, there's definitely wickedness going on in that country as well. But in this particular case, in regards to this war, Iran is merely defending themselves against the U.S. and Israel. And currently, they're just defending themselves against the U.S. because the U.S. is the one that keeps pushing the issue. Basically, the U.S. and Israel lied on Iran to try to justify them attacking Iran. And so the Iranians, they're like, listen, y'all started this. So we can keep this going as long as it takes. And they don't care who gets hurt in the process, because anytime Iran has tried to have peace with the US, they got attacked. So now they're just like, we're not trying to have peace talks. We're not trying to sit down with you, because we already know how this is going to play out. So those Iranians, they're like, listen, we can go blockade for blockade, or we can go back to how this started and be launching attacks on each other. Whichever way you want this to go is how it can go. And that's how you know that we are in a time of war. We're not in a time of peace, because things are not calming down. Things are escalating. They may be escalating in a different way than how they started, but they're still escalating. Ecclesiastes 3:1. To everything there is a season and a time to every purpose under the heaven. Jump down to verse 8. A time to love and a time to hate, a time of war and a time of peace. And we are in a time of war. And there is no denying that, and there is no getting around that or away from it. That's why the peace talks, the peace negotiations between Washington and Tehran have failed, because neither side is going to wave that white flag. The Lord is not allowing it. The Lord has the spirit on both of them to be digging their heels in, so to speak. They're standing firm in not backing down. And things can only get worse when neither side is willing to budge. So, for all you sincere brothers and sisters, just stay locked in and continue to watch. Because the Lord is steady making moves, particularly in regards to this war. So with that, I'm going to wrap it up here. In closing, I want to give all the praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Ba'ashim, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashim, Rakakwadash, the Wadi Yahweh, Ba'ashim, Yahweh Shai, putting the spirit on me to do this lesson. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Honors to our brothers who are fervently preaching the word in sincerity and in faith. Shalom to all the sincere Akwath, and shalom to the scattered Israelites who are amongst these heathen nations and look like these heathens. Hope you all stay strong, stay safe, stay fervent, stay circumspect, stay prayed up, and Adawan Ratazah. Till next time, shalom.